The clock on the wall showed 11 at night. Park pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway of the Galactic Embassy. His footsteps made soft sounds on the shiny floor. The building was quiet at this hour. Most of the diplomats and important people had gone home. Only the night workers remained. Was 38 years old. He had gray hair starting to show near his ears. His hands were rough from years of work. 3 years ago, he was a school teacher. He taught little children how to read and write. He loved that job. But then his wife got sick. The hospital bills grew bigger and bigger. He sold their house. He sold their car. In the end, nothing could save her. Now he cleaned floors and emptied trash cans at the Galactic Embassy, the place where aliens from across the stars came to talk with humans. It was not a bad job. The pay was enough to take care of his daughter. That was all that mattered to him. Tonight he had to clean the 47th floor. This floor was special. It belonged to one of the oldest and most powerful alien species in the galaxy. The other janitors warned him about them. They said to look down on humans. They said to clean quickly and never make eye contact, just nodded and did his work. The 47th floor had a garden, a real garden with trees and flowers from another world. The plants glowed softly in blue and purple colors. A glass ceiling showed the stars above. Had never seen anyone in this garden. It was always empty and quiet. But tonight was different. He heard a small sound, like someone crying but trying to hide it. He stopped pushing his cart. He listened carefully. The sound came from behind a group of tall silver trees. Knew he should ignore it. He should finish his work and leave. But he was a father, and that sound reminded him of his daughter when she had nightmares. He walked slowly toward the trees. He did not want to scare anyone. When he came around the corner, he saw a small figure sitting on the ground. It was a child, an alien child. She had pale purple skin that seemed to glow slightly. Her hair was white like snow and fell past her shoulders. Her eyes were silver like two small moons. She wore a beautiful dress with golden threads. This was not a servant's child. This was someone important. The girl looked up at him. Her eyes went wide with fear. She pressed herself against a tree, trying to make herself smaller. Stopped walking. He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. Then very slowly he sat down on the ground. He kept a good distance between them, close enough to talk, far enough to not frighten her. "Hello," he said softly. "My name is I clean the floors here." The girl did not answer. She just stared at him with those moon-like eyes. "I have a daughter," continued. He spoke as if they were just having a normal conversation. She is 7 years old. She would love this garden. She likes anything that glows." The girl blinked. Some of the fear left her face. Reached into his bag and pulled out his thermos. He poured some warm tea into the cup. The smell of honey and ginger filled the air. "My wife used to make this tea. I learned the recipe from her. I am not as good at making it, but I try." He took a small sip and smiled. Then he set the cup down and looked up at the glass ceiling. "The stars look different from up here," he said. "When I was young, I lived in a small village. No big buildings, no bright city lights. I could see thousands of stars every night. My mother told me each star was a home. I thought she was telling stories. Now I know she was right." The minutes passed, kept talking. He talked about his village. He talked about her habit of wearing different colored socks. He talked about the old cat that lived near his apartment building. He never asked the girl questions. He never demanded that she speak. Slowly the girl stopped shaking. Her body relaxed. She was still watching him, but now with curiosity instead of fear. Checked his watch. He had been sitting here for almost an hour. He would need to work faster to finish his shift on time, but he did not mind. Suddenly he heard fast footsteps, many of them. He turned and saw 5 guards running toward him. Their faces showed panic and anger. Behind them came a tall woman in official clothes. "There she is," the woman shouted, "Princess Lyra." Princess, the word hit like cold water. This was not just any child. This was alien royalty. The guards surrounded them. One of them grabbed his arm and pulled him to his feet. "What are you doing here, human?" the guard demanded. "Why are you with the princess?" "I found her crying," said calmly. "I was just sitting with her, nothing more." The tall woman pushed through the guards. She looked at the princess, then at her eyes were cold and suspicious. "The princess does not speak," she said slowly. "She has not spoken a single word in 2 years. What did you do to her?" "Nothing, I just talked, she listened, that is all." The woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she waved her hand. "Take him away. Check the security recordings. If he did anything wrong, he will be punished." 2 guards led toward the elevator. He did not resist. Before the doors closed, he looked back at the garden. The little princess was watching him, and for just a moment he saw something in her silver eyes. It looked like hope. The next morning, security reviewed all the footage. They found nothing wrong. Was told he could keep his job but was warned to stay away from restricted areas. He bowed his head and thanked them. That night he returned to work. He cleaned the lower floors first, staying away from the 47th floor. He would follow the rules. He would not cause trouble. But when he finally went to the 47th floor, just to empty the trash bins near the elevator, he saw something that made him stop. The princess was there, sitting in the same spot in the garden, waiting. She looked at him, he looked at her. Neither of them moved. Then sighed, put down his trash bag, and walked over to sit down beside her. "Did I tell you about the time tried to give a bath to the neighbor's cat?" he asked. "It did not go well." The princess did not speak, but she moved a little closer to listen. And somewhere in the building, hidden cameras recorded everything. In a room far away, Empress watched the screen and held her hand over her heart. Her daughter, who had not responded to anyone in 2 years, had just chosen to wait for a human janitor. The Empress did not understand, but for the first time in many months, she felt something that might be hope. 3 weeks passed since that first night, and every night Princess Lyra waited in the garden. Did not understand why. He was nobody important, just a man who cleaned floors. But every time he came to the 47th floor, there she was, sitting among the glowing flowers, watching the door until he arrived. So he sat with her, he talked, she listened. It became their routine. Tonight brought something special. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small square of colored paper. Lyra tilted her head, curious. "This is called origami," he explained. "It is an old Earth tradition. You fold paper to make shapes. My mother taught me when I was young. Let me show you." His fingers moved slowly so she could follow. Fold here, crease there, turn it over, fold again. In a few minutes, the flat paper became a small bird with wings spread wide. "This is a crane," he said. "In my culture, people believe that if you fold 1,000 cranes, you can make a wish come true." He held out the crane to Lyra. She hesitated, then took it carefully. She turned it around in her small hands, studying every fold. Her silver eyes were bright with wonder. "I never finished my 1,000 cranes," admitted. "I got to 812, then I stopped." He did not tell her why he stopped. He did not say that he was folding them for his dying wife, that she passed before he could finish. Some stories were too heavy to share. Lyra pointed at the paper crane, then at herself, then made a folding motion with her hands. Her meaning was clear. "You want to learn?" smiled. "Of course, tomorrow I will bring more paper." And he did. Every night after that he brought colored paper. He taught her to fold cranes, frogs, flowers, and stars. She learned quickly. Soon her folding was better than his. She made a whole family of paper animals and lined them up on a rock like they were having a meeting. One night brought something else, an old book with a worn cover. "This was my daughter's favorite when she was younger," he said. "It has pictures of Earth animals. She used to make me read it 3 times every night." He opened the book and showed Lyra the pictures. Dogs, cats, elephants, whales. She leaned closer, fascinated by creatures she had never seen. When they reached the page about rabbits, she smiled for the first time. It was small and shy, but it was real. Felt his heart grow warm. As more days passed, he brought more things. A small pot of herbs from his kitchen window, a smooth stone from the river near his old village, a drawing that made in school. Each item was simple and had no great value, but each one made Lyra's eyes shine. She began to respond more. She nodded when she agreed with something. She shook her head when she did not like a story. She tugged his sleeve when she wanted to show him a new star through the glass ceiling. She was waking up. But she still did not speak. One Thursday night had a problem. His babysitter called to say she was sick. He could not leave alone at home, and he could not miss work, so he did the only thing he could do. He brought her with him. Was excited. She had never seen the embassy before. She asked 100 questions on the way there. What did aliens look like? Did they have 2 eyes or 10? Could she touch the glowing plants? You must be quiet and well-behaved, told her. Do not touch anything, do not run, stay close to me. Promised. She broke that promise within 20 minutes. When they reached the 47th floor, she saw the garden through the glass doors. Her eyes went wide. Before could stop her, she ran inside. Wait! He hurried after her. When he caught up, he found her standing in front of Princess Lyra. The two girls stared at each other, with open curiosity, Lyra with frozen surprise. His heart dropped. This was a disaster. The princess might be scared. The guards might come. He might lose his job. But then spoke. Your skin is purple, she said. That is so cool. My favorite color is purple. Are you a princess? You look like a princess. Do you have a crown? My dad says you do not talk. That is okay. My friend did not talk for a whole year after her hamster died. She was really sad. Are you sad too? Lyra blinked. No one had ever spoken to her like this. Not in 2 years. Adults treated her like something broken. Other alien children bowed and kept their distance. But this human girl just sat down next to her like it was the most normal thing in the world. Do you want to see my drawings? Pulled a folded paper from her pocket. I drew our apartment and my dad and my mom in heaven. She has wings now because she is an angel. She unfolded the paper and showed it to Lyra. The drawing was messy and colorful. A building, a man with a mop, a woman floating in the clouds with big white wings. Lyra looked at the drawing for a long time. Then she looked at who was standing frozen nearby. And then something happened that made his breath catch in his throat. Lyra's shoulders began to shake. Her chest moved up and down. Her mouth opened slightly. She was laughing. No sound came out, but she was laughing. Her whole body shook with silent joy. Grinned proudly. See, I am funny, everybody says so. For the rest of the night, the two girls played together, showed Lyra how to play hand-clapping games. Lyra showed the paper animals she had made. They did not need words. Children rarely did. Watched them with a full heart. This was what his daughter needed, a friend who understood loss. And maybe this was what the princess needed too. Someone who did not care about titles or politics. Just a normal kid who thought purple skin was cool. When the night ended, hugged Lyra goodbye. Lyra stiffened at first, then slowly hugged her back. I will come back, promised. We can play more games. I know lots of games. From that night on, whenever the babysitter could not come, came to the embassy. The guards learned to expect her. They pretended not to notice the small human girl running to the garden. What nobody told was that everything was being watched. In the royal chambers on another floor, Empress sat before a screen. She had been watching for weeks. She saw every paper crane, every picture book, every story about socks and cats. She saw her daughter smile. She saw her daughter laugh. She saw a human child treat her daughter like a normal girl. And tonight, alone in the dark, the most powerful woman in the Dominion covered her face with her hands and wept. because a janitor and his daughter had done in weeks what all the doctors and specialists could not do in years. They had made her child feel alive again. But not everyone was happy. In a meeting room below, a lord named reviewed the same footage with very different feelings. This was wrong, he thought. A princess spending time with servants, laughing with human children. It was an embarrassment, a stain on honor. Something had to be done. 2 months had passed since first met the princess. Winter had come to the city outside. But inside the garden on the 47th floor, the glowing plants kept everything warm. Tonight Lyra was different. She seemed restless. She kept touching her throat, looking at, then looking away. He understood. She wanted to speak. The words were trapped inside her like birds in a cage. She did not know how to open the door. Had been thinking about this problem for weeks. He remembered something from his teaching days. A student who could not hear. A child who spoke with her hands. He sat down across from Lyra and held up his hand. "I want to teach you something new," he said. "This is called sign language. You can speak without using your voice. Watch." He touched his fingers to his lips, then moved his hand forward. "This means thank you." He pressed his hand to his heart. "This means I feel." He pointed to his eye, then made a shape like a heart with his fingers. "This means I see you." Lyra watched with wide eyes. Her hands trembled. Slowly, carefully, she the movements, touch lips, move forward, press heart, point to eye, make heart shape. Smiled. "Perfect, now we can talk." Over the following weeks he taught her more signs. Hello, goodbye, happy, sad, yes, no, friend, father, mother, star. The signs became their secret language. The guards did not understand it. The diplomats did not know it. It belonged only to them. One night, Lyra asked her first question in signs. She pointed at, made a soft motion like falling water, then pointed at herself. "Understood, why am I kind to you?" She nodded eagerly. He thought for a moment. How could he explain something so simple? "When I was young, my father died," he said. "I was very sad. I did not want to talk to anyone, but there was an old woman in my village. Every day she brought me food. She did not ask me questions. She did not tell me to feel better. She just sat with me. After many weeks, I started to feel human again." He looked at Lyra with gentle eyes. "Someone was kind to me when I was broken. Now I pass that kindness to others. That is all." Lyra's silver eyes filled with tears. She made a sign against her heart, then pointed at him. It was not a sign he had taught her, but he understood anyway. It meant, "You are important to me." The next evening came to visit. The two girls sat together making paper cranes while cleaned nearby. He listened to his daughter chatter away, filling the silence with stories and jokes. "My mom died," said suddenly. "It was sad. I did not want to talk about it for a long time." Lyra looked at her, really looked at her. "Dad says words are like seeds," continued. "Sometimes they need to stay underground for a while, in the dark, in the quiet. But one day when they are ready, they grow into something beautiful." Lyra pressed her hand to her chest. Her eyes became wet again. Patted her shoulder like an old grandmother giving comfort. "It is okay. You do not have to talk now, but maybe one day your seeds will grow too." Heard this and felt proud. His daughter was only 7, but she understood things that most adults never learned. Everything changed on a night in late winter. The alarms came without warning. Red lights flashed in the hallways. A loud voice announced, "Chemical spill in Section B. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." Grabbed his cart and headed for the emergency stairs. The building was chaos, people running, guards shouting orders, aliens and humans rushing toward the exits. Then he remembered. Lyra. He turned and ran back toward the 47th floor. The elevator was locked down. He took the stairs, climbing as fast as his legs could carry him. His lungs burned. His heart pounded, but he did not stop. He found her in the garden, alone, The guards had left to help with the evacuation. No one had come for her. Lyra was pressed against a wall. Her whole body shook. Her hands covered her ears. The flashing red lights, the screaming alarms, something about them was causing her to break. Ran to her and dropped to his knees. Lyra, Lyra, look at me. She did not respond. Her eyes were empty. She was somewhere else, somewhere dark, trapped in a memory he could not see. He moved closer and blocked the lights with his body. He lowered his voice until it was soft and steady. I am here, you are safe. Nothing bad will happen, just listen to my voice. Focus on my voice. He kept talking. He talked about the paper cranes, about silly socks, about the stars they had watched together. He made his voice an anchor, something to hold onto in the storm. Slowly, slowly, her shaking became less. Her eyes began to focus. She saw him kneeling before her, his face calm, his hands gentle. That is it, he whispered. I am here. I am not going anywhere. Lyra reached out and grabbed his sleeve. She held on so tight her knuckles turned white. Her mouth opened. Her throat moved. She was trying to speak. Waited, he did not push. He just held her hand and waited. And then it came, so quiet that he almost missed it, a broken sound, a small voice that had not been used in 2 years. Don't leave. 2 words, barely a whisper, but they were there. Felt tears burn his eyes. He pulled her close and held her gently. Never, he promised, I will never leave. They stayed like that until the alarm stopped, until the guards finally arrived, out of breath and panicked, until Lyra was taken to her mother, answered their questions calmly. He did not tell them about the whisper. That was not his secret to share. He finished his shift in silence. He took the bus home. He sat in his small kitchen while the morning light came through the window. And then, alone, he put his head in his hands and cried. Not from sadness, from something else. Relief, joy, hope. He cried because a little girl who had been silent for 2 years had found her voice again. He cried because sometimes kindness worked. In the royal chambers, Empress received a report from her guards. The princess was unharmed. A janitor had stayed with her during the emergency. But the medical scanner showed something else. Lyra's throat muscles had been used. Sound waves had been recorded in her room. The princess had spoken. The Empress read the report 3 times. Then she called for the security recordings. She watched them alone in the dark. She saw hold her daughter. She heard those 2 small words. She saw the moment her child's voice came back to life. And for the 2nd time that night, the ruler of the Dominion wept. But these were not tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude. For a human janitor who did not give up, who did not run away, who stayed when everyone else left. She whispered to the empty room, "What kind of man are you, Park?" Somewhere across the city, slept on his old couch, curled beside him with her head on his shoulder. He had no idea that his life was about to change forever. The letter came on a cold morning. Was making breakfast for when someone knocked on his door. He opened it to find 2 guards in formal armor. Their faces showed no emotion. Park, one guard said, "You are summoned to appear before the High Tribunal tomorrow at noon. Failure to appear will result in arrest." They handed him a sealed envelope and left without another word. Stood in the doorway for a long time. His hands shook as he opened the envelope. The letter inside was written in both and Korean. It accused him of many things: inappropriate contact with royalty, overstepping social boundaries, possible manipulation for political gain. The signature at the bottom read, "Lord, Senior Diplomatic Advisor." Appeared beside him, still in her pajamas. "Dad, what is wrong? You look scared." Forced a smile. "Nothing important, little one. Eat your breakfast before it gets cold." But that night, after was asleep, he sat at the kitchen table and stared at the wall. He understood what was happening. Someone powerful did not like a human servant being close to the princess. Someone wanted to make an example of him. He might lose his job. He might go to prison. In the worst case, he might be banned from Earth itself. He thought about running, taking and disappearing to some small town where no one knew them. But that was not who he was. He had done nothing wrong. He would face whatever came. The next day, he asked his neighbor to watch. He put on his cleanest clothes. He took the train to the embassy. The tribunal chamber was large and cold. High ceilings, stone walls, hundreds of seats filled with officials, human diplomats, and others who had come to watch. In the center was a raised platform where 5 judges sat. Their faces were carved from ice. Walk to the small stand in the middle of the room. He could feel every eye on him, judging him, measuring him. Lord stood at another podium. He was tall and thin, with sharp features and colder eyes than the judges. His voice echoed through the chamber. Park, night janitor, former teacher, widower with 1 child. He spoke like he was reading about an insect. You have been brought here to answer for your actions regarding Princess Lyra of the Dominion. The accusations came one after another. He had entered restricted areas. He had made contact with royalty without permission. He had brought an unauthorized person, his daughter, into secure zones. He had manipulated a vulnerable child for unknown purposes. The princess is fragile, declared. She requires careful handling by trained professionals. Instead, she has been exposed to a common laborer who fills her head with foolish stories about paper birds and mismatched socks. Some people in the audience laughed, said nothing. What do you have to say for yourself, human? Demanded. Looked at the judges. He looked at the crowd. He looked at Lord with his cold, proud face. Then he spoke. His voice was calm and clear. I saw a frightened little girl hiding in a garden. She was crying alone in the dark. I did not see a princess. I did not see royalty. I saw a child who needed kindness. He paused. I sat with her. I told her stories. I taught her to fold paper cranes. I brought my daughter to play with her. That is all I did. I asked for nothing in return. I expected nothing in return. The chamber was silent. If showing kindness to a lonely child is a crime, continued, then I accept whatever punishment you decide, but I will not apologize for it, because it was the right thing to do. Lord opened his mouth to respond, but he never got the chance. The great doors at the back of the chamber swung open. Everyone turned. Then everyone stood. Even the judges rose from their seats. Empress walked into the room. She was 7 feet tall. Her skin was deep purple, darker than her daughter's. Her silver eyes held the weight of 1,000 stars. She wore white robes that flowed behind her like water. Every step she took seemed to make the air heavier. The most powerful being in this part of the galaxy had entered the room. She walked past the rows of standing officials, past the stunned judges, past Lord who had turned pale as death. She stopped directly in front of. He did not bow at first, not because he was disrespectful. He was simply frozen in shock. Then he remembered himself and lowered his head. Rise, the Empress commanded. Her voice was deep and ancient. Look at me. Raised his eyes and met hers. He expected anger, judgment. Instead, he saw something else. Pain and hope, mixed together like water and oil. You taught my daughter to fold paper cranes, she said. It was not a question. Yes, Your Majesty. You shared your dinner with her. You brought your daughter to be her friend. You sat with her night after night, asking nothing, expecting nothing. Yes, Your Majesty. The Empress was silent for a long moment. Do you know why my daughter stopped speaking? Shook his head. The Empress closed her eyes. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with old grief. 2 years ago, my husband was murdered. He was the emperor. He was the love of my existence. And Lyra was beside him when it happened. She saw everything. She screamed until her voice broke. Then she went silent. No word, no sound for 2 years. The chamber was completely still. Even Lord seemed frozen. I brought the greatest healers in the galaxy, the Empress continued. Mind doctors, speech specialists, empaths who could read emotions. They all failed. They treated her like a problem to be solved, a broken machine to be fixed. She opened her eyes and looked at, but you treated her like a child. You did not try to fix her. You just sat with her. You let her be broken. You let her heal at her own pace. She reached into her robe and pulled out something small, a paper crane, slightly crumpled, well-loved. She keeps this under her pillow, the Empress said. It was the first one you gave her. Felt his eyes grow wet. The Empress turned to face Lord. Her expression changed. The softness disappeared. Only cold fury remained. You would punish this man for succeeding where our entire civilization failed. His mouth opened and closed. No words came out. The charges are dismissed, the Empress declared. All of them. Furthermore, Lord is relieved of his position. He will be transferred to the border outpost on the fourth moon of immediately. Guards moved forward, was led away, still too shocked to protest. The Empress looked at the judges. This tribunal is finished. No one argued. The room began to empty, but before could leave, the doors opened again. A small figure ran inside, past the guards, past the officials. Lyra. She ran straight to and threw her arms around him. Her face pressed against his chest. Her small body trembled. And then she spoke, not a whisper this time, a real voice, rough and broken but clear. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for seeing me." Held her gently, tears ran down his face. He could not speak. The Empress watched her daughter embrace a human janitor. She watched her child speak for only the second time in 2 years. And for the third time, in the privacy of her heart, she wept. But this time, they were tears of pure joy. Went home that night a free man. He tucked into bed and told her that everything was okay. He sat on his couch and looked out the window at the stars. Tomorrow, life would return to normal. He would go back to pushing his mop and emptying trash cans. Or so he thought. A message arrived on his communicator at midnight. It was from the royal office. The Empress wished to see him, privately, tomorrow morning. Read the message 5 times. He had no idea what was coming, but somehow he knew that his life as a janitor had just come to an end. 6 months had passed since the tribunal. Park no longer pushed a cleaning cart through empty hallways. He no longer wore the gray uniform of a night janitor. His life had changed in ways he never imagined. The Empress had offered him a new position, Special Cultural Liaison for Human Child Development, a long title that meant something simple. He would help develop new ways to support children who had experienced trauma. His methods, his approach, his kindness would become the foundation for healing programs across the galaxy. At first tried to refuse. "I am just a janitor," he said. "I have no qualifications for this." The Empress had smiled, a rare expression on her ancient face. "You have the only qualification that matters. You know how to sit with someone who is broken and make them feel whole again. That cannot be taught in any school." So he accepted, not for the money, though it was more than he had ever earned, not for the status, though people now bowed when he walked past. He accepted because he could help more children like Lyra, children who were lost in silence, children who needed someone to just be there. He still refused to wear fancy clothes. He came to work in simple shirts and comfortable pants. He still brought homemade lunch in a dented metal container. He still folded paper cranes when he needed to think. Some of the nobles whispered about him, the strange human who acted like a servant even though he worked in the royal offices, but others watched with respect. He had done what their finest specialists could not. Perhaps there was wisdom in simplicity. Lyra was healing. Her voice grew stronger each day. She still preferred to sign sometimes, especially when she was tired or overwhelmed, but she could speak now, full sentences, laughter that made sounds, songs that she hummed while walking through the gardens. She attended a small school near the embassy. It was a special place where human and alien children learned together. The Empress had created it after seeing how and Lyra became friends. If two children from different worlds could connect so deeply, perhaps others could too. Went to that school now. Every morning, a royal transport picked her up from his apartment. She thought it was completely normal. Most 7-year-olds did not get driven to school by alien diplomats, but was not most 7-year-olds. The two girls were inseparable. They argued about which cartoons were best. They traded lunches even though food sometimes made tongue turn purple. They had sleepovers that made the royal security guards very nervous. "What if something happens to the princess?" one guard asked. "What could happen?" another replied. "They are just playing dolls." Human children are chaotic. So is our princess now. I think the human child is a good influence. Lyra was no longer the silent ghost who hid in dark gardens. She was loud and curious and sometimes got in trouble for exploring places she should not go. The healers were amazed. The diplomats were impressed. The Empress was simply grateful. On a warm spring morning, was summoned to the royal chambers. He expected another meeting about the new programs. Instead, he found the Empress standing alone by a window, looking out at the city below. "Your Majesty," he said with a small bow. She turned to face him. In the sunlight, she looked less like a powerful ruler and more like a tired mother. The weight of worlds rested on her shoulders. "I have been thinking about how to thank you," she said. "I have considered many things: wealth, titles, land on worlds, honors that would make your name famous across the stars." Shifted uncomfortably. "Your Majesty, I do not need any of those things." "I know," she almost smiled. "That is what makes you so frustrating. Most beings want something: power, recognition, legacy, but you truly want nothing." She walked closer. "So I will ask you directly. If you could have anything, anything at all, what would you choose?" Thought for a long moment. He thought about his small apartment, his old furniture, his simple life. He had everything he needed, but then he thought about other people, other families, other children. "A scholarship fund," he said finally. The Empress raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "When my wife got sick, I had to stop teaching. I had to work multiple jobs to pay the bills. Almost could not go to school because I could not afford it. There are many families like mine, single parents, people who have lost loved ones. They struggle to give their children opportunities." He looked at the Empress directly. "I want a fund that helps children of single parents get education. Human children, alien children, anyone who needs it, so they can become doctors or teachers or scientists, so they do not have to struggle like I did." The Empress was silent. Her silver eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "You had the chance to ask for anything: riches beyond imagination, power that lesser beings only dream of, and you ask for a charity to help strangers." "They are not strangers," said quietly. "They are just people I have not met yet." The Empress stared at him for a long moment. "You are the strangest human I have ever encountered." "I have been told that before, Your Majesty." She laughed. It was a rare sound, like silver bells in a distant wind. "The fund will be established. It will support thousands of students across human and worlds. What name should it carry?" Did not hesitate. "Name it after my wife. It means future in my language." The Empress nodded slowly. "The foundation, it will be done." Bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. That is more than enough." That night he sat on his apartment balcony. The city lights spread out below like fallen stars. Was asleep inside, hugging the stuffed rabbit that Lyra had given her. The spring air was warm and soft. His communicator buzzed. A message from Lyra. "Says you make the best pancakes in the galaxy. I want to try them. Can I come for breakfast tomorrow, please?" Smiled and typed back. "Of course, bring your mother too, I will make extra." He sent the message and leaned back in his chair. The stars were bright tonight. Somewhere out there, on a dozen different worlds, children would go to school because of the Foundation. They would learn and grow and become something wonderful. Because a janitor decided to sit with a crying girl in a garden. Because a 7-year-old offered to share her drawings. Because sometimes, the smallest kindnesses created the biggest changes. His communicator buzzed again, an unknown number, a royal code. The message was short. "I accept, yes." Laughed quietly to himself. The Empress of the Dominion was coming to his tiny apartment for pancakes. He would need to clean up, maybe buy some better plates, probably hide the underwear drying on the bathroom door. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight he just sat and watched the stars. He thought about. He hoped she would be proud of the man he had become. "I finished the 1,000 cranes," he whispered to the sky. "I know it took a long time, but I made a wish anyway." He did not say what the wish was, but looking at his sleeping daughter through the window, looking at the future he had helped build, the answer was clear. He had wished for a family again. And the universe, in its strange and beautiful way, had answered. In a garden on the 47th floor, glowing flowers swayed in an artificial breeze. Paper cranes hung from the branches of silver trees, hundreds of them now, some made by a janitor, some made by a princess, some made by a little girl with mismatched socks. A small plaque had been placed near the entrance. "This garden is dedicated to those who sit with the broken and help them heal. May we all learn to see each other." Below it in smaller letters, "Gift of the Foundation, because kindness creates futures." And somewhere in the endless dark between stars, the light of human compassion continued to spread, one small act at a time, one paper crane at a time, one whispered word at a time. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons or technology or power. Just the simple courage to be kind. And that, in the end, was more than enough. The end.